Monahan parked in front. Docks to Caulfield. Fire. Scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Devin. This is Recliner Sports, and this is Habs After Dark. We are live, and Montreal Canadiens go down 4-1 to the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know if I could call it a disappointing loss. I don't know what we think about that game. I'll be interested to see what you guys think of it. I don't really feel like it was a bad game. I don't feel like it was a great game. I think that was a game where a veteran team ran up against a young, immature team that really is still learning and developing and getting better. And it's interesting to see how they play against those really good teams, right? It's interesting to see how they are affected by playing the big games against the big teams, and they're still not there. And I think the fans got spoiled a little bit with the wins over Florida and Tampa and Las Vegas and Colorado. And, I think, what that showed us is that they certainly can play with those teams. But again, I don't think they are at the level where they're going to beat those teams on a regular basis. The Winnipeg Jets are arguably, so far in the regular season anyway, the best team in the NHL. And they showed it tonight. They took advantage of their opportunities. And they certainly did what they could do to beat the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens, of course, came out really strong in the first period. Then they kind of went to sleep in the second period. But again, Winnipeg is a veteran hockey team, and they're good, and they know how to play, tough road games in the middle of January. So, I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Let's get your thoughts on it. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit distracted here. Claude Richard says, "Go Habs, go!" Hi, Devin. The Habs are put in their place tonight. Not much else to say. Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it. Is they got put in their place. They were beaten by a better team. And again, it's just a demonstration that this is a team that has things to work on, and they're not quite ready. They're not quite ready for prime time just yet. And what we've seen from them over the last few weeks, I'm not going to say it's an anomaly or it's an abnormality or it's out of the ordinary, but I think it's kind of more of a situation where they're falling back to where they really belong, right? I don't think they're as bad as the team that played in October and November, and I don't think they're as good as the team that played in late December and January. So they're kind of coming back to the pack a little bit, and that's kind of what I'm seeing out of it. So 4-1 against the Jets is not even that bad. It wasn't a bad game. I thought the second period was pretty tough. They were outshot 11-0 in the second period at one point. So that was kind of tough. 4-1 with an empty net goal. I still think their defensive zone game, needs work. There's something going on there. They're struggling. Obviously tonight, it was just they looked a little hobbled. They looked a little tired. And again, of course, with Goulet, the one thing we can take out is hopefully Caden Goulet is not out for an extended period of time. So, yes, Billy D, I agree with you. Great teams like Winnipeg capitalize on their opportunities. Larry agrees with you as well. They are a well-oiled team. Couple of errors made the difference, really. Yes. I think it was the second goal, the Canadiens were a little bit slow getting back in their own zone, and Gustafsson beat them to the puck and put the puck in front of them. Two of the three, well, other than the empty net, two of the three non-empty net goals came on passes from behind the goal line. So that's kind of a little bit of something that you might notice is a bit of a trend tonight, right? The Winnipeg team winning battles behind the Canadiens' goal line and finding guys in front of the net. So that would indicate to me that, the Canadiens are losing those battles, obviously, but they're also not covering the front of the net as well as they might be able to as well. So, Carl, welcome. Thank you for coming. Good game. A bit of a disappointment in defense, though. 2 times they were wide open in front of the net. Yes, again, you're saying exactly what I just said, Carl. What's up, Entertap? Jets are a solid team with players who can execute and take advantage of their opportunities. Montreal arguably was better for 2 of 3 periods. Yeah, I think you could say that. But again, like you say, efficiency of taking advantage of your opportunities, right? They took advantage of their opportunities at a far better rate. Also the best goalie in the NHL as well. What do I think about Pizzetta still being in the lineup? I have no problem with Pizzetta still being in the lineup. I think the reason why he's still in the lineup is because the Canadiens aren't really that interested in mixing things up too much down in Laval. They don't want to be messing with what's going on in Laval too much, and they also want to have a minimal change in their own lineup. They don't want to, move anybody around. I think Pizzetta is a guy who probably, isn't going to give you more than 6 or 7 minutes a game, but it is what it is. I think they'd rather do that than call up a bunch of guys from down in Laval. Especially if they're going to go on the road now, right? I think they're heading on the road after tonight's game. So I think you'll see Pizzetta continue to carry that mantle on the 4th line, even if he is only getting 6 or 7 minutes a game. Habs were at home, thought they would have more momentum. They did in the first, but they sucked out in the second. Yeah, I mean, again, you can say they sucked out, but realistically, I think they, Winnipeg decided to put it into second gear in that second period and take control of the game. Again, they're one of the better teams in the league and arguably the best team so far this season. So, it's always a decision to make whether you think a team sucked or whether the other team was really, really good. So, it's hard to say which was which. Defensive coverage and play suspect again tonight. Guess the new pairings didn't help. No, I didn't think the new pairings would help that much. I didn't really have any issue with the old pairings. And again, the criticism of this team over the last few days is kind of baffles me a little bit. I guess I wonder about people's commitment to the team when they're, this team has played extraordinary hockey, well above their abilities for quite some time now, and then there's a couple of bad games or a couple of and all of a sudden people are jumping down people's throats, and it's just typical Montreal fan stuff. But again, it's frustrating for me to hear people ripping on certain players out of nowhere for absolutely no reason, whether it's Montembeault, whether it's Matheson or whoever. This idea that they lose it's typical of the Montreal Canadiens over the years, and it's why the team hasn't been successful for 30 years, is that, there's a lot of knee-jerk reaction that has gone on with this organization for quite some time. And I think it's about time that we moved on from it a little bit. Personally, I think it's, I'm glad that the organization's not doing it anymore, but again, I guess it's a little bit too much to ask for the fans to not do it. So, looks like a little bit of a slow night here tonight. I guess on a Tuesday we're not going to get a ton of people, but if you're not yet subscribed, guys, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the thumbs up. We got 2 thumbs up there. Hit the notification bell if you're watching in a replay. Same thing. But again, I think it's going to be a pretty slow night for us here tonight, guys. Tuesday night, Canadiens lose. I wouldn't expect there's going to be a lot of people around at 11 o'clock at night to talk about the game. If you're over on TikTok and you have something to say, if you want to join the conversation, come on over here to YouTube. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. The show is Habs After Dark. Come on over and have your chat. Except for you, Eagle Lover. You apparently know nothing about hockey, so you can stay over on TikTok. I think that's probably a better platform for you. So you stay over there. But if anybody else wants to come over and join us on YouTube, join the show, come on over and we can chat about the game over here. Silver lining, Montreal outshoots them, wins face-off percentage, out-hits. PK was 3 for 3 and had more takeaways. Yeah, I mean, the PK's been good all year. It's one of the strengths of the team. It's one of the reasons why I'm always baffled that people are so easy to jump on Mike Matheson over the smallest little thing because of all the positive contributions he's made to this team. But again, the PK was good. The refereeing was terrible. Again, I'm not a big fan of refereeing a game so that each team gets an equal amount of penalties. But you cannot tell me that the Montreal Canadiens had 3 penalties tonight and that team had 0. And again, that slashing penalty where the opponent's stick breaks. It just I hate it. There was a play where I can't remember who it was for the Canadiens was skating down the ice, and Cole Perfetti axe handle tomahawked the Canadiens player. I think it was Hudson. Axe handle tomahawked Hudson's stick. Lifted his stick about 1.5 feet and then came down on top of it as hard as he could. And because Hudson held onto his stick and because it didn't break, no penalty. And then meanwhile, you get a little tap, and then the stick breaks, and it's an automatic penalty. I hate these automatic penalties in the NHL. Yes, against the number 1 power play in the league for sure. Yes, and so that 0 for 3 is definitely a good sign for the Canadiens' penalty kill tonight. Did I see Demidov today? Well, why don't you let me know whether you think I saw Demidov today? What's going on here now? How do I do this? Sorry, guys. I thought I had this ready to go, but I didn't, apparently. Sorry about that, guys. How was that video for you guys? Why is it still playing? Technical difficulties. Why won't it stop playing? Sorry guys, I'm gonna stop this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know why this is doing this. have the highlight video prepared, but I can't get it to stop playing. It's driving me pretty crazy right now. Why is it doing this? Sorry guys, I don't know how to stop this. You guys, can you hear the music in the background? All I can hear is the friggin' music over and over and over again. I can't stop it. Oh my God. What is it doing? Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I think that should be better. I don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. So here's the caution. As much as I see the great talent Demidov, and I'm convinced he will help the Habs, many are banking on him saving this organization, not realizing that it's a team sport. Yeah, absolutely. There's no guarantee he'll make the NHL next year. Everybody, don't get me wrong, the kid is a spectacular hockey player, and he's doing spectacular things in the KHL. But the KHL isn't the NHL. The KHL isn't even the NHL. Like, I hear a lot of people throwing around this idea that the KHL is the second best hockey league in the world. It's not. There are other leagues in the world that are better. The American Hockey League is better than the KHL. You could argue that the Swedish league is better than the AHL. You could argue that the National League is better than the KHL. So, he's a great hockey player, and I highly suspect that he'll be fine in the NHL. And I also think there's a good chance that he'll make the Montreal Canadiens next year. But there's a possibility that he won't. And there's a possibility that he's not going to be a guy who steps into the lineup and becomes a difference maker on day one. So, keep all of that in mind, right? Keep all of that in mind. So it's easy to say, and again, I said the same thing about Lane Hudson last year, right? And obviously he's proven me wrong. He hasn't really proven me wrong because I do suspect that Demidov will be given the opportunity to make the team, and given that it's a rebuilding team, I think they'll be willing to live with, some of his, warts for a little while he learns how to be a better player in the NHL, just like they did with Lane Hudson, and they'll give him an opportunity that they might not always give to a lot of people. But that said, there's no guarantee that he'll make it. And if he's not ready, they won't keep him on the team. So again, this idea that people have that he's some kind of Superman that's going to come in and save the day and rescue everything and turn the entire world around is, it's unrealistic, it's unfair, and it's an expectation that is only going to set everybody up for disappointment. So he'll need to make adjustments in the NHL. All I have to do is look at Michkov, helps Philly, but is adjusting constantly, and effects are minimal. I think that Michkov is a different cat, to be honest with you, Entertap. I don't think that Michkov is a good comparison. I think they're two very, very different hockey players. Also, I don't think that Michkov is in the same environment that Demidov is going to be in, right? Michkov is in an environment where, he's got a coach who's breathing down his neck, who, teaches and coaches in a very different way than Marty St. Louis does. And I think that's probably, part of the reason why he is falling apart a little bit right now. he's kind of struggling a little bit, and so that's kind of. I don't know that it's a good comparison to compare him with Michkov, frankly. I think he will be kind of a Lane Hudson player, but at offense he will bring the excitement and will create many scoring opportunities. Well, yeah, that's the expectation, Carl, and that's what he's good at. But again, it's not very common for a player to just step into the NHL and do those kinds of things, right? It's just not. It's not typical. It doesn't happen all the time. Why do I think Marty St. Louis switched up the D pairings? I don't know. I don't know why he did. I guess maybe he saw some struggles a little bit from some of the players over the last couple games, and maybe he was looking to light a spark. I'm not a big fan. If you guys have followed me in the past, whether it's here or on, when I used to be on TikTok, you'll see that I've never been a big fan of shuffling lines and moving players around. To me, they've been struggling with their defensive structure. They've been struggling with their defensive zone structure and systems. And the idea of adding on top of that, now you're going to be playing with a new partner tonight. I don't see the benefit of that. I don't see how that comes around. So. We already have a right-winged tiny goal scorer. I don't know what you mean by that, Anonymous. Who's our right? Are you our right-wing tiny goal scorer? Are you talking about Cole Caulfield? I don't know what do you mean? We already have one. I don't know. Like what does that mean? I'm not sure what you mean. Don't you think it would be better for him to go to Laval like everybody else does? Are you talking about Michael Pezzetta? I don't. I don't think it would be better for him to go to. First of all, he'd have to clear waivers to go there. There'd be no guarantee that he would clear waivers. I don't think it would be better for him to go to Laval. And I think that right now, like I said, he's the best option that creates the least amount of change, whether it's in the Canadiens lineup or in the Laval lineup. And I think that the organization has an interest in keeping that way and not making too many moves and too many changes at both sides. Are you having a good time over there by yourself, Cards by Dre? You're right about the two being different players, but the point I tried to make is they were both in the KHL players, but NHL is a different story. Yes, absolutely. But again, I think that Michkov's struggles, him doing so well to begin the season and then sort of struggling late is a bit of a. I think it's more of a factor of his environment, and I think that one of the things the Canadiens are doing really, really well right now is providing an environment where young players can flourish and can blossom. And I don't think that John Tortorella offers that. I don't think John Tortorella offers that in Philadelphia. So I think that, that will be a different situation here in Montreal. I think that, like I said, Montreal would be willing to let Demidov come, even if he's going to struggle a little bit. Being a rebuilding team, they'll give him, they're more likely to give him some opportunity to stick with the NHL as opposed to, it's not going to be a hard lineup for him to make. Let me put it that way. If it's clear that he's not ready, he'll go down. But if it's close, I think they'll probably keep him. He is comparing Demidov and Caulfield, calling Demidov a tiny goal scorer. I just think the Habs should draft more physically gifted guys. We have so many short guys. Have you ever seen Ivan Demidov play? He's not small. He's 6'1". He obviously is 19, so he has some size to put on. But again, he does not. His style of game is not comparable in any way, shape, or form to Cole Caulfield. He's very strong on his feet. He wins battles along the boards. He's physical. I think comparing Caulfield and Demidov, I think is inaccurate. I guess is the best way to put it. Marty St. Louis, in my opinion, made a big mistake tonight. Why were Pezzetta, Galley, and Dvorak on the ice at the end of the second period against top line of Winnipeg? I'd have to look at that some more, Enter Tap. I didn't really see that myself. The only thing I could think of would be if it was a face-off situation and they were trying to get Dvorak out there. But again, I'm not sure why Pezzetta would be. I don't know. I'm not sure. Google's wrong, Anonymous. Sorry, man. Go look at some of the other options. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what site you're looking at, but I mean, there's a number of different places you could look. But I believe it was at the combine, sort of the mini combine that they did last year. That said he was 6'1". There's video of him being measured. So, anyways, again, the style of play is completely different as well. So, but he's not 5'11". He might be 6 foot, but he's not 5'11". But I believe he's 6'1". I think he's around 180 pounds. We'll see what he is when he gets to Canada too, right? He may have grown over this year. He certainly doesn't look small in the KHL. He plays physically. He's very, very solid on his skates. And again, I don't think that calling him another tiny scorer is an accurate statement. How do I see the top six next year with Demidov? What are my lines? Again, I think it's a fool's errand, Carl, to try and predict those kinds of things. Again, there's no guarantee that Demidov's going to make the league, right? I think that he probably will. But again, to suggest that you're going to pencil him into the top six and that, again, I think that it's a bit of you're setting yourself up for disappointment and you're creating unreasonable and unrealistic expectations if you're starting to do all that stuff. I think if Demidov comes to the league and plays the way he's playing in the KHL and he can be a big contributor, I think that he does stand a chance to get onto that second line. I don't see much value in having him on a third line, to be quite honest. I don't think he has the defensive game to be on that. I think he has a decent defensive game, don't get me wrong. But again, I don't think it's setting him up for success to put him on a third line. I think Roger McQueen would be a good pickup for the Habs this year's draft. A 6'5" center prospect is rare. Yeah, maybe. I don't think that the Canadiens will draft him based on him being 6'5", if that's what you're saying. I don't think the Canadiens have any shortage of big physical players. This misconception or this narrative that they're small, I don't know where it came from, but it's not an accurate one. It's actually quite the opposite. I know Serge Savard made some comments in the offseason about the Canadiens being small, and statistically that's just not factual. If you're over on TikTok, guys, come on over here to YouTube and join the show. We're going to go to our scoreboard. I've created a new scoreboard, guys, so you tell me if you like it better or worse. I don't know. I found the other one to be a little bit too busy, so I created this one here. So tonight we have, again, 4-1 final for the Winnipeg Jets over the Canadiens. So what I've done on the scoreboard is I still have the scoring summary on the left-hand side, as you can see. Rather than break down all of the stats by period, I've broken it down, for the entire game. And I think it looks a little less busy. And, some of the other numbers were a little bit unnecessary. Although sometimes it was nice to see how, different stats were over the period. But so basically, shots on goal, 25-24, so it's pretty even. Corsi, that's, shot attempts, basically, 59-61 or 61-59 in favor of the Jets. And Fenwick is 44-38, so that is basically all shot attempts minus the block shots. And so that was 44-38 in favor of the Jets. High danger scoring chances was 14-12 in favor of the Jets, and the expected goals were 4.02 to 2.55. As far as the scoring is concerned, of course, we had Juraj Slafkovsky scored the first goal of the game. Really nice transition play by the Canadiens. It was a great shot by Slafkovsky to finish it after a nice three-way passing play with him and Caulfield and Suzuki. The Canadiens had been putting on significant pressure at the time. The Canadiens were on a roll at that point in the first period. Unfortunately, that was the only goal they would get. The Jets scored late in the late in the first period, and it kind of let the air out of the Canadiens a little bit. Kyle Connor with his first of the game from Velarde and DeMello. Again, the puck just sort of sat in front of the net after a rebound. DeMello took a point shot. Montembeault made the save, and the puck just kind of sat there, and nobody really could get a stick on it. And Connor kind of swooped in and picked it up and beat Montembeault 1-1 after one period. So the Canadiens, I think, probably were a little bit deflated coming out of that first period, tied 1-1 after basically dominating the first period. Shot wise, puck possession wise, they were the better team in that first period, but they didn't come out of it with a lead. Second period. Midway through the period, Scheifele scores from Velarde and Morrissey. Again, nice cycle play below the goal line between Scheifele and Velarde. A bit of a two-man play. Scheifele gets the puck to Velarde. Then Scheifele goes to the slot, and then Velarde finds him right in the goal crease area. And Scheifele scores an easy one from way in close. And then the backbreaker, of course, was the one with less than 2 seconds left in the second period from Kyle Connor. Morrissey dumps the puck in, and for whatever reason, the Canadiens are really, really slow chasing down the dump in. Gustafsson beats them to the puck, gets the puck, passes it in front of the net to Connor, and Connor scores easily again from pretty close in on Sam Montembeault. And then, of course, you have the empty netter by Rasmus Kupari at 18:15 of the third period to make it 4-1 and to finish it all off. So, that second goal, especially with the second goal with the dump in. The third goal with the dump in, and Gustafsson gets in there and he beats. I can't remember which defenseman it was. Just beats him to the puck, and it just didn't look that great. But again, it's a good hockey team. It's a good hockey team, so I'm not going to harp on too much of that. Give us a thumbs up, guys, if you like the new scoreboard. Hit the thumbs up button down below if you like the new scoreboard. If you don't like it, let me know. We can maybe, if there's anything you think that you would like to see with it, change it up, what have you, let me know as well. Maybe we can work on it a little bit more. But that's what we got going now. So. We are only talking here for fun. What do you think will be the lines? Well, I have no idea, Carl. I mean, that's the point I'm making. I get that we're only talking here. I have no idea what the lines will be. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Like I don't have the first clue. I'm not a big fan of that. Like I don't do that. Like I'm not big on predicting things that really I have no possible way of knowing. I could tell you, I could make up some lines and whatever. I mean, if Demidov, like I said, if Demidov comes and he, is able to contribute, in similar ways to the way he's contributing in the KHL, yeah, I think there'll probably be a spot for him on the second line. You probably see, Newhook drop down to the third line. But again, I really have no clue. That's why. Again, I get that we're just talking here, but I really don't. I don't have any clue. Easy work, go Jets, go. Okay, is that what you came here for, man? I mean, if you want to talk about the game, we can do it. I don't know about it being easy work. That the Jets are a very good team. The Jets put on a clinic. They're mature. They're veteran. They're a contending team. The Canadiens are not. The Canadiens are young. They're still working their way up. I would venture to say that the players would tell you that game was not easy work, despite the score. But if you came in to have a real conversation, I'm happy to have you, man. But if you came in just to sort of be a my team's awesome, your team sucks kind of guy, then this is probably not the ideal place for you. We're ranked 29th in average in the NHL on elite prospects. We're ranked 29th in average in the NHL on elite. I have no idea what that means, Anonymous. You're going to have to maybe clear that up for me a little bit. Disappointing last 3 games, Noah. Welcome, Noah. First of all, haven't seen you here before. We love to have you. I don't know that I would say that the last 3 games have been disappointing. Again, I think that this team is falling back down to earth, and I think we're seeing who they're really meant to be. I think we're seeing that from them. But again, I don't know that it's disappointing. I think this is certainly they haven't shown us a regression back to the team that we saw in October and November. That's for sure. Make it bigger. Too hard to see the scoreboard. So you mean when I show it when I show it with myself, like when I do this, it's too small? So maybe I could do, oops, I didn't want to do that. Maybe I could do that. And then I could do, how's that? Is that better, Blackwater Canyon? Is it better when I do it that way? I made myself smaller, and then made the. I guess I have to fix this as well if I'm going to do that. Oops, I want to do that. Get you out of there. Sorry, guys. I'm working this stuff on the fly here. There. I think that's better, Blackwater Canyon. Unfortunately, we had no power play tonight. Very disciplined Jets team. Yeah, I don't know how much it's disciplined by the Jets or indisciplined by the Canadiens. I think it's just NHL referees. I'm not a fan of refereeing a game to say that both teams should have the same amount of penalties. I'm not a believer in that. You've heard me say that before. I'm definitely not. But again, I watched that game, and you can't tell me that one team was substantially more disciplined than the other. It was Hudson who committed behind the net at the end of the second with the goal, but again, MSL did not really match lines well there. It was the turning point of the game, in my opinion. Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. So are you saying you didn't think Hudson should have been out there, or you were more worried about the fact that Dvorak and Pizzetta were out there? I'm not blaming Laine alone for loss, but we need him to step up at 5-on-5. Disagree, Aiden. I'll disagree with you. I think he's playing decent hockey. It still doesn't look like he fully has his legs under him as far as fitness and what have you is concerned. But again, I think he's playing fine. I think that line is playing well. I mean, I think over the last couple weeks, he's one of the leading scorers on the team overall. So again, I don't have an issue with the way Line has been playing. Honestly, I don't. We have two lines of grinders. We need more skilled playmaker type. Line is suffering as a result. Two lines of grinders. We need more skilled playmakers type. Yeah, I don't see that being realistic. I don't see that being a reality. Like, what do you mean we have two lines of grinders? I mean, we have arguably the most productive fourth line in the NHL this year, right? Between Heineman and Jake Evans, that's one of the more productive fourth lines in the entire league. I think we saw 11 goals from 11 goals from Heineman before he got hurt, and I think that Jake Evans is around 11 or 12 as well. So I guess I disagree with you on two. I disagree with you on 3 points in that comment. First of all, I don't think the Canadiens have two lines of grinders. Second of all, I think that your bottom six forwards need to be grinders to a certain degree. You need to have, two-way and defensive style players. At least, on your third line, I think you need to have guys who can play both ways. And on your fourth line, you need to have, pretty solid defensive players. And I don't know what you mean by Laine is suffering as a result. How is Laine suffering as a result of the players that are on the third and fourth line? That's actually not true, Anonymous. Based on height this year, I don't think that's accurate. It certainly wasn't accurate at the beginning of the season. NHL teams, they were 7th or 8th at the beginning of the season. Average height. So here's the myth of the height issue in the NHL. So average height, the Canadiens are. Ooh, what's going on here? I hate all the ads on Elite Prospects. Way too many ads. And they're like all over the screen. Oh, they do have the Canadiens at 29th. They were not that low at the beginning of the season. This is 22-23. That's why. You're looking at the wrong season, man. 24-25. The Canadiens are 15th in the NHL with an average height of, sorry, I'm lying to you again. I still have to hit this button. Oh, they are 29th. What the hell is going on here? So 24-25, the Canadiens are now ranked 29th. They were not at the beginning of the year. But here's the myth of all of this. So the Canadiens' average height is 185.26 centimeters. The tallest team in the league is 189.2. So that's 3.5 centimeters difference. That much. Right? And Vegas is like almost a whole centimeter taller than the second place team. As far as weight is concerned, the Canadiens are 8th in the league at 202 pounds. That's really weird because at the beginning of the year, I looked that stat up, and the Canadiens were 7th in the league as far as height was concerned at the beginning of the year. I'm wondering what's changed there. I wonder whether there's a player that's been dropped, or I'm not sure what's happened there with that. I'm not sure what happened with that. Anyways, not a big deal. It was Hudson. I'm not blaming Line. I think the scoreboard is fine, but it's hard to see the scoring summary. Okay. I will say this again. It's time to run with Dobesh if we want to keep in the playoff race. The scoreboard size is perfect now. Yes, thank you. Yeah, again, knee-jerk reaction, Blackwater Canyon, and that's what really the Montreal Canadiens are moving away from. I think the idea, I don't want to offend you by saying this, but I think that's a really, really, dumb take. The idea that you're going to put a guy who's played 6 games, 7 games, whatever it is in the NHL as your number one after that short period of time, I think is just, I get that it's an emotional reaction, and I wish that more fans would put their brains ahead of their hearts. And I get that your emotion is part of being a fan, but sometimes you need to put your emotions in the back pocket and use your brain a little bit and think about what's best for the team in the long run. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever. You couldn't possibly explain to me a reason why Samuel Montembeault should not be the number one goalie on the Montreal Canadiens right now. Yeah, I see that, Anonymous. Again, I'd looked it up earlier in the year, and it's changed significantly since the last time I looked at it. The bigger the better, but my eyesight is not what it used to be. I'm not complaining, though. Yeah, I could make that bigger, for sure. He's playing decent hockey, but I think he can still take another step up at 5. Yeah, absolutely. I think they all can take a step up at 5-on-5. I think the entire team, could be better. But Line A being a genuine difference maker, yeah, 100%. I agree with that completely, Aiden. Again, I think that whole line, once they get rolling a little bit better, they've shown us glimpses of it, but they haven't really done it on a consistent basis. Dvorak, Armia, Anderson, worse than Evans, Galley, Pizzetta, all grinders. Dvorak, Armia, Anderson. Well, again, I disagree with that. Who do you want to play on your bottom 6, Blackwater Canyon? Who do you want on your bottom 6? You want 50 goal scorers on your bottom 6 forwards? That's not the way hockey works, man. I'm sorry. Like you're not going to have a bunch of 25, 30 goal scorers playing in your bottom 6. It's not first of all, it's not feasible. You can't afford those players to do that. And second of all, you need players to play different roles in a hockey team, right? You need different players to do different things. So if you are going to consider those guys grinders, which I don't, but you definitely need players in your bottom six who can, are more than just point producers. Newhook is not a playmaker for Laine. He needs Suzuki with him and Slav. Again, on what basis is Newhook not a playmaker? No, I know you're not lying, Anonymous. I've literally made videos about that topic where I've gone in and I've cut and pasted that same graphic, and it's changed. The average height for the Canadiens has changed significantly since the beginning of the season. I also don't think size is an issue, Aiden. It's not at all. I'm not worried about size in any way, shape, or form. The Canadiens have more than their fair share of big players. Again, they have a couple of smaller guys, but Slavkovsky's not small, Suzuki's not small, Laine is not small, Doc's not small. You could say that Newhook's a little bit small. They're not a small team. Dobesh has confidence right now. Let him play 1 or 2 games a week and keep that confidence. No. So Dobesh is playing really well right now, so let's change things. Right? Like, I don't get that. Things are going really, really well right now, so let's change things, right? Like, I don't understand that. Like, it's the same as the guys who were calling for Gallagher to get, more ice time at the beginning of the year when he was on a roll. One of the reasons he's doing well right now is that they're managing his play. They're managing what he's doing, and it's not like Montembeault is falling off a cliff and is a terrible goaltender and they need to replace. It's not like I don't understand this. Montreal Canadiens fans love to fall in love with a new shiny toy, and all of a sudden they want to turn that new shiny toy into whatever. Like, relax, take your time, man. Dobesh isn't going anywhere. This team's not going anywhere. If they don't make the playoffs this year, it's not the end of the world. They're rebuilding. Like let Dobesh play, 1 out of every 4 or 5 games, 1 out of every 3 or 4 games, whatever. Like, it's just, there's no need to rush these things. And thankfully, we now have an organization, we have a management team that isn't managing that way. Right? We now have a management team that's not managing in that way that they have over the years in the past. Right? They're not responding out of an emotional reaction to a short sample size of things. They're not rushing guys into the league. They're not rushing guys out of the league. They're not rushing to make trades. They're not rushing to make coaching changes. They're not rushing to do all of these things. They've got a plan, and they're sticking to the plan. And patience is a central component of it all. The whole team is struggling to the offense, to the defense, to the goaltending. Other teams are like the Jets are playing better on the second half. Yeah, I don't know that they're struggling, Frank. I think they're having some difficulties with their defensive zones coverage. I think that's a bit of an issue. But again, I think they're just sort of falling back to where they belong in the grand scheme of things. They played a good game tonight, but they played against a team that's better than them. Right, they played against a more experienced team, a more mature team, and they lost. It wasn't a matter of them not playing well or struggling tonight. I don't think they struggled tonight. Right, they in every category they were right there with the Winnipeg Jets. And frankly, if it wasn't for the lopsided penalty count, then maybe those numbers would have been even more even or even in Montreal's favor. So. How many games a week is he playing right now? Well, the Canadiens typically play 3 games a week, sometimes 4. And right now I would say that Dobesh is playing 1 out of every 3 or 4 games. Not really related to the current conversation, but would you be open to the NHL instituting play-in games like the NBA? You mean for the playoffs? Or you mean like the in-season tournament kind of thing? The answer, I think, to both questions for me is no. I think the NHL's playoffs are already wide enough as it is with 16. What is it? 16 teams make it. I don't think we need to open it up to anybody, like to more teams. Like if you're suggesting a playoff, like a play into the playoffs where the two teams in each conference the two teams in each conference that don't make it get to play each other for a spot in the play. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know why. Like again, 16. Are there teams? Have there been any teams recently that didn't make the playoffs that we said to ourselves, "Geez, they really deserve to make the playoffs"? Obviously we've had some teams that have come from the back end of the playoffs, like the lower rankings going into the playoffs, who've done well in recent years. But again, I haven't really. Typically typically to me, it's more of a situation where you've got teams sneaking into the playoffs that you're saying that team probably doesn't really. They're not really that good. They don't really deserve to be in the playoffs. Rather than looking at teams, oh man, that team played really, really good this year. They should have made the playoffs. There's not really only the Canadian teams. I don't understand what that means, Aiden. I don't understand. Are you suggesting that there should be an in-season tournament with a Canada? Well, I mean, you could do something like that. I don't know that it would really mean anything. I know that like in a lot of other sports, they have like what they call, derbies or derbies, where, two teams will play each other 3 or 4 times a year, and they have like a separate little trophy that, goes to the team that wins that season series or something like that. But off topic, but will I watch the Super Bowl? Who am I cheering for? I probably won't watch it. I literally have not watched more than 5 minutes of NFL football all season. My team stunk this year, so I probably won't watch the game. If I had to pick a team to cheer for, I'd probably cheer for the Chiefs. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know how fun it would be, Aiden, really, but maybe to some people. I don't. I think it's, again, you're right. It's gimmicky, I think. All right, gang. How about the A team? Are we ready to do the A team? So there it is, guys. There's tonight's A team. I don't know what you think about that. Uri Slavkovsky, Brendan Gallagher, Lane Hudson, and Nick Suzuki. Those are my picks as the 4 guys who showed up tonight for the Canadiens. I thought Slavkovsky just looked really good out there tonight. Some of his underlying numbers weren't spectacular, but I thought he was very involved. He was hitting. He was making nice passes, and he certainly was a contributor to that first line. Brendan Gallagher, multiple scoring chances, looked really, really good out there. Hustled as he always does. I thought he was really good. I thought Lane Hudson had a good game, even though he had no points again for what's this, the 3rd game in a row with no points for Lane Hudson. But I thought he played well defensively. There were numerous situations where he was on the boards, battling guys way bigger than him and more than handling himself and doing quite well. And Nick Suzuki is just a guy who, he's an anchor back there, right? He's a force back there. And I just thought he had a good game. So let me know what you think of that. If there are guys on that list that you think I got wrong, if there's guys on that list that you think that should be there that aren't there, or if there's guys that I have there that you think I got completely wrong, that you think don't belong there, then let me know, and we can have a chat about it. I feel like from December to the trade deadline, the season kind of drags. Yeah, well, maybe, Aiden. I don't know. I don't find. I mean, I guess I get it. I mean, the season's long, and there's going to be parts of the season that are like that. I just don't know that an in-season tournament kind of thing like that would really make a difference. Fitness King 101, thoughts on the Canucks this year and the trade deadline and issues with Pettersson and Miller, conspiracy, and what do the teams need who should get trades-wise? I know our D needs work. Well, I mean, I'll confess, Fitness King, that I'm not somebody who follows the Vancouver Canucks, really that closely. I don't know what you mean by a conspiracy. the Pedersen-Miller thing, again, again, this is pure speculation on my part. I don't follow the team. I don't have any insider information. But again, it looks like you got two guys who don't get along with each other. Miller, by all accounts, is an asshole, right? And that works in some dressing rooms and it doesn't work in others. It works with some guys and it doesn't work with others. And Pedersen strikes me as a relatively soft-spoken guy whose approach to the game is probably quite different than Miller's, and that at some point Miller and he have probably butted heads over that. And Pedersen is an important player on that team, and his opinion and his voice carries a lot of weight. And Miller may have picked on too big a fish in this situation, right? And so I don't know. Like, again, I don't know any of these guys personally, obviously, but the accounts are that Miller's a bit of a dick, a hothead. He's not not a very pleasant guy, and so you wonder whether or not that's come to a head. Typically, if you've got two guys on a team that can't get along, usually they can make it work. But apparently, in this particular case, that's not the situation. So that's all I have to say about that. As far as who they need to get trade wise, I couldn't tell you, man. I don't know enough about the Canucks to speak intelligently about what they need. I know you've got the best, probably the best, one of the two best defensemen in the NHL on your team. So in that sense, you're doing pretty good. Beyond that, there's a couple of good guys there. Is Ronick playing well right now? I know he's been up and down a little bit. So yeah, I don't know enough about your team to really. I wish I did, but that's about all I can really offer you, Fitness King. So, but thank you for being here, and thanks for the question. I appreciate it. And if you want to stick around, and I will certainly do my best to answer your questions to the best of my ability if I can. I like Slavkovsky on the A team. Feels like he's solidified his game lately. I agree. Yeah, I thought he's played quite well. The Canadiens lost 4-1. Cheese Wizard. Yeah, sorry, man, Fitness King. But again, if you want to talk hockey, again, I'll definitely do my best to answer your questions. So, if you want to stick around, if you want to give us, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff, you can do that. If you're over there on TikTok, guys, come on over to YouTube, to the Recliner Sports 4 channel, and join us over here to have a chat. We're talking about the game tonight. Canadiens lose 4-1 to the Winnipeg Jets. And yeah, things are kind of slowing down here a little bit, guys. We've only got the 9 thumbs up. We got a thumbs down. That's nice. Whoever did that, I appreciate that. That did not work out like I wanted it to at all. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get a graphic working here. All right. So I guess we'll go to the report card, guys, if there's no more comments. Again, a pretty nondescript report card tonight. They allowed more than 3 goals. They scored fewer than 3. I thought the special teams was good. They obviously didn't get a power play, but they killed all 3 of the Jets' power plays. I thought there were some actions tonight that helped the other team. I thought they shot themselves in the foot a little bit tonight. Weathering the storm, I thought they did weather the storm to a certain degree. That first 15 minutes or so of the second period, the Jets were all over them. Obviously they gave up some goals, but they also didn't fold their tent either. They dealt with some adversity tonight. They were able to hold their own. Even the 4-1 score is probably worse than it actually was. I thought there was some FU factor tonight. I thought they played with some pride. They blocked shots. They were physical when they needed to be. As Entertap pointed out earlier, they out-hit the Jets tonight. So in that sense, I give them a passing grade. And they also, I thought they failed as far as the 60-minute test is concerned. So, yeah, what do you think of that? Anything I got wrong there? Anything you would have changed? Any grades you would change there? You're from Vancouver. What about the Sens this year? Thoughts on them? The Sens are a good team. I think the Sens lack some leadership. They're also they're not as young a team as the Montreal Canadiens, but they show signs of a lot of immaturity on their team. I think I think that Brady Tkachuk is a fantastic hockey player, but I don't think he's a particularly good leader. I think some of their better players lack some maturity. Their organization has been a bit of a mess over the years as far as coaching and management is concerned. I'm not 100% sure they've solved that problem. Travis Green, pretty nondescript coach, I guess I would say. I don't know that he's an inspirational kind of guy that, a team like that might need. Like, they're a bunch of young guys with a lot of talent. And I think they need, a coach who, makes them excited to play the game and excited to go to the rink every day. And I'm not sure that Travis Green is that guy. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on them. I think they have a ton of talent. I think they're a very talented team, but they're, a lot of their players individually are not living up to their capabilities. I think their potential. You think they're moving in momentum. Also, Leafs doing good, but they need to do this in the playoffs. They need to get to round 3 or 4 at least, sign players before the playoffs, or it will be a loop keeping losing round over. Yeah, again, the Leafs are a good hockey team. The Leafs have a lot of really talented hockey players. But again, like you say, until they do it in the playoffs, it's not really going to matter much. I think they do look better this year. I think the argument from the Leafs fans would be that, this is not the same team. It's not the same coach. It's not the same system. This is a different team than last year. But again, until they actually do it in the playoffs, then those will just be words, right? Until they actually do it in the playoffs. My issue with the Leafs is not necessarily with their big four, if you want to call it that. It's more so with their supporting cast. It's hard to win in the NHL when you are paying that much money or that high a portion of your salary cap to such a small number of guys, right? If you're paying 4 guys, nearly 50% of your salary cap, it's going to be hard to populate the rest of your roster with guys who can, who can, bring you success in the playoffs and going forward. That's a difficult ask, in my opinion. So they look really good. Again, I agree with you completely. Until they do it in the playoffs, there's always going to be questions. I'd love to see them do well in the playoffs. I don't know that they've made the changes that they need to make, and I don't know what they're going to do about Mitch Marner in the offseason. I certainly don't think it would be wise for them to re-sign him, frankly, but that remains to be seen. That's just my opinion, I suppose. So, anyways, I guess there's no commentary on the report card tonight. It's a bit of a slow night, guys. I don't know how much longer we'll stick around here if it's going to be quiet like this for so long. Even Entertap has abandoned us here now, I think. We have 7 people here. We've only got 10 thumbs up. If you're enjoying the show, guys, hit that thumbs up. If you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay after the fact, if you're enjoying the show, give us a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get more subscribers. We are now at, what are we at now for subscribers? 277 subscribers, guys. So we're trying to get to 500. It's been a bit of a slog here. But again, the more the merrier. We're trying to build a place for you guys to come and talk about the games. If you were interested in subscribing, then that would be awesome. We would really appreciate it. A lot of Leafs fans say, we didn't do well in the playoffs because of goaltending. Do you agree it's the goalie's fault? I don't agree with that. It's been a factor, I'm sure, at times. But again, goaltending has not been the reason why the Toronto Maple Leafs have lost. Do I think Montreal will be in the playoffs? They seem to be better now, but very competitive divisions. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. I would say it's unlikely for the Canadiens to make the playoffs this year. And again, I don't think that will be a big... that won't be the that won't be an indication of success or failure for this team, whether they make the playoffs. So I'm not really that concerned about it, quite honestly. But yeah, that's it. I also think the Chicago trade thing with the Avs and Hurricanes was horrible. They're part of the deal. Well, why? Why, Fitness King? Why do you think it was horrible? You understand what their trade was, right? I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think it was great. It's not that it wasn't great. I don't think it was horrible. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But a lot of people are equating the fact that Mikko Rantanen was part of that trade. That has no bearing whatsoever on Chicago, right? Chicago, the fact that Mikko Rantanen was involved in that trade and Martin Necas was involved in that trade has no bearing whatsoever on Chicago. Chicago essentially, got rid of a contract that they wanted to get rid of and, retained salary of a player who they have cap room to retain, and in return they got a third-round draft pick for it. So that's essentially what happened there, right? Like, they weren't part of the trade. Like, they didn't give up anything. The only thing they gave up was Taylor Hall. In fact, what I understand is they didn't even know what the trade was between Carolina and they're just a broker here, right? They're a broker. They brokered the deal because the other teams didn't have the ability to retain salary. That's what I understand. I think that's what happened. Let me just make sure I got that right. Rantanen trade. Chicago acquired a third-round pick in 2025 from Carolina, and the Blackhawks will also retain 50% of Rantanen's salary. So the Blackhawks got a third-round draft pick, and they got rid of Taylor Hall, and they retained half of Rantanen's salary. Again, I don't get why they did that, and I'm not saying it was a good move, but I think a lot of people misunderstand and somehow think that because there were some big names in this trade, that means anything. I think, as I understand it, Chicago was just acting as they wouldn't even have known who the players were. I agree with you, Fitness King. I think that Kyle Davidson is in way over his head. He's not a good GM. He's made a number of really, really bad moves. They don't seem to understand what a rebuild is, and they're certainly not, making moves that would be consistent with a rebuild. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on over there with that team, but you're right that they did make some really bad moves in the offseason. So anyways, gang, I think that's going to be it for me for tonight. I appreciate everybody for coming by. Thank you so much. We're going to talk again next time, Thursday night. The Canadiens will play. Again, this was a bit of a slow turnout tonight, but I do appreciate those of you who came by, those of you who participated. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit the button down below right here. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button yet, please do so. If you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, I know not everybody can join the show live after the game this late at night on a school night, a work night, whatever it might be for you. I appreciate all of that. But if you are watching in a replay and you are enjoying the content, please subscribe. Help us grow our community. I'm trying to give a place for you guys to come and talk about the game afterwards. And that's what we're trying to build here. And the more people who subscribe, the better it's going to be. And once we get to 500 subscribers, we can, create a little bit more fun stuff to do here. YouTube has a bit of a threshold at 500. So we're working our way towards it, but we need your help. And if you're enjoying the content, then we really would appreciate a thumbs up and your commitment to a subscription or to subscribe. That would be awesome. So, Fitness King, I got no more. I got no more in me left, man. I'm ending the show. If you want to come by the next time, we go live after every Montreal Canadiens game. We go live about 10, 15 minutes after the game ends. Come by and join us, Fitness King. That goes for everybody. The show starts at whatever time the game ends. We usually get on about 10 minutes afterwards, and we are happy to have a chat about the game with you then. So Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Montreal Canadiens fall to the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. Next game is on Thursday against the Minnesota Wild. We will see you then. Peace out.